Hello, sports fans. Ralph Luck here. Hoping you're all doing well. Yes, I shaved again. Boy, I'm learning one thing about being out boondocking now for a couple months is when you get that scruffy beard, it's when you're doing a baby white bath for maybe 2 days in a row before you take a shower, skin gets a little irritated. I don't know how Chrome does it on Van City Van Life. Anyway, kind of a weird shot here. Yes, this is from my slide out bedroom. You're looking at the overhead compartments and AC vent, and of course, the light I have on my head at all times once the sun goes down. Ninja, the martial arts cat, is looking out the screen door because apparently the 2 hours she spent outside right around sunset and disappearing into the forest wasn't enough for her. So she's staring at the screen door. I have the outside LED lights on, and she's just kind of checking out all the bugs, the moss. I have to tell you, I haven't got back set up with my Adobe video editing software. So as I'm sure you're aware, these are not great professional videos that I'm posting, the kind that I want to post, the kind that you deserve. Intro, music, cut. These are 5 to 15 minute videos of me live talking to you off the top of my head, and you're seeing all the ugly truth, including this ugly couple of chins here. Anyway, it is a Wednesday night. On Saturday, I plan to head into Flagstaff, dumped a little bit of my black tank, clean the tanks out, whatnot, maybe top off on fuel, maybe water. Do need a little bit of groceries. I mean, Saturday should be about day 14 out in this part of the national forest where I'm at right now. And it's time to move on. So I think I'm going to be heading to a place west of Flagstaff. I'll let you know, of course, when I get there. And that means going into Flag. Yeah, I probably have enough water, definitely propane, definitely fuel. Black tanks are fine. I probably really technically don't need to go into Flag, but since I'm driving right by there where there's a Walmart, why not just kind of top off? You never know when the zombie apocalypse is going to hit. So, tonight for dinner I had a canned, okay, this is going to sound gross because if you told me I'd be eating this, I think it was gross too. But it's really good canned product that has okra, which I've tried to like okra. I've had it fried. I've had it stewed everywhere. I just can't seem to eat it. I've tried. On my dad's side, that's what my grandparents and my dad and all his side of the family ate. That growing up on that luck side of the family. But actually, from the early 1700s, my dad's side of the family's been here in America before it was America. So I could almost say I'm Native American, right? Anyway, it's okra, corn, tomatoes, seasoning. I don't know, but I opened up the can and poured out. I tried seasoning it with different hot sauces and things. It's great out of the can. I heat it up. I really like it, and it's fairly healthy. I mean, tomatoes, corn, okra. I mean, there's not much to it. But as fat as I am, I'm not a big eater. I mean, that was my dinner, a can of that for $1.25 at Walmart. Thanks, Brandon, because about 2 years ago, it was about 79 cents. Anyway, sorry to get onto politics, but I think if you've watched a few of my videos, you might know how I lean. And by lean, I mean go way hard in one direction. Anyway, again, family was here before the Constitution. I'm a constitutionalist, I believe. Anyway, let's not get into that. So I just wanted to give you a little update. I'll probably post a video. Well, I'm sure I will post a video once I get there. Get settled into a new campsite, make sure I have good cell service, and I'm all hooked up. Let Ninja explore the outdoors during the day. I mean, geez, tonight she was out for an hour and a half after dark. It was like pitch dark. Um, and then magically she appears like poof, ninja. Um, and there's not a lot out here to be concerned about. I mean, yeah, there could be coyotes, but I mean, I'm so heavily surrounded by other campers that I guess they'd have to make their way around. I have yet to hear one coyote out here. Anywhere that I've ever ran into coyotes, you always hear them. I mean, I grew up in southern Arizona. You hear coyotes at night. You see them crossing the road or whatnot. Nothing out here. I mean, I'm up in northern Arizona. There's bull elk, which are the males, cow elk, which are the females. In case you didn't know that, a little something to tuck under your feather, under your hat, or whatever the sayings are. There are supposedly bears. I have not heard of any bear up here. Bald eagles, a few. Anyway, I don't really think that is not the territory for snakes. I'm not saying there's not snakes, but it's not like being closer to Phoenix where you saw me in a previous video 2 months ago waking up from a nap on an air mattress outside the RV enjoying the cool weather, and boom, there. Let's get some of that shine off. Wax on, wax off. Anyway, where I woke up and there was a rattlesnake in the shade right under the RV 3 feet from me. No big deal. Back in my day as a firefighter, there were many dozens, if not hundreds of calls where I would have to go out and get a rattlesnake off somebody's front porch, put it in a box and carry it 100 feet away and move it out to more of a desert area than their front porch. So used to be terrified of snakes, but as of getting on the fire department in 2000, yes, before 9/11, I used to be terrified of snakes, but now, they are what they are. Anyway, so when I get there, I'll get settled in, get a video, again, going through town, kind of restock it even though I don't have to, but as I mentioned, the zombie apocalypse. So even though I technically have MRE type food in a backpack, enough for at least 30 days, and then in the RV between a dozen frozen chicken breasts, packs of hot dogs, canned food, cup of soup type, noodle ramen things, you add water. Probably get another 2-3 weeks in the RV, but it's always good to top off, especially if, like I am now, after being boondocking for a little bit, I'm slowly starting to financially get a little bit ahead, meaning that, I can pay besides the minimum balance, maybe a little bit more, and I have a few dollars in my pocket to top off that fuel even if I don't need to. I'll probably go through town. I'll be maybe at 3/4 of a tank in the RV, but let's throw in another $50. I mean, I'm very blessed by that. Speaking of being blessed, I have some significant personal news. I know I've got several dozen followers now, and I thank you all. Anybody that watches the videos, you have more patience probably than I do. But I do follow dozens and dozens of YouTubers, some with only a few followers, others with, like Russell Brand, over 5.6 million. So I like to have that shotgun approach and get different views and perspectives. And I'm hoping if you're watching this, you do too. I think I'm an unique individual. A guy in an RV towing his car with a cat, willing to let the cat out. Everybody else I've seen in van life and boondocking and stuff like that, they walk their cat on a leash, which makes sense. But my cat Ninja's 6 years old. She knows martial arts, and I never thought about putting her on a harness and leash before. That might be something as I make my travels east in the months and years ahead and across the country. Might be something that I might need to do. But again, if I drive for an hour and end up at a Pilot gas station, I don't really feel the need to take her out for a walk. Okay, she can stay in the RV with me for a night, and then we drive the next day for another hour, hour and a half, and get into some BLM land or some open area or desert or forest, and then she can have her little walk. She stays pretty close, 100 yards or so to the RV. She's fearful of other persons and cars coming up, and she runs back. She does not listen at all. I think I've said this before, but if I call her, offer her a treat, do anything, nah. To the extent of, as it's dark, I'll kind of occasionally call, clap for her, and I think that helps if she gets a little too far out and maybe lost. I mean, pets like people, I guess, can get lost. Might let her know, oh, that's where I need to go. But at nighttime, having the only RV in the area with a light on, I think helps. Tonight, what helped, I think, get her back was I started shining my flashlight around at some of the tall trees that are 30, 50 feet high. And if she's off in the distance, she could see the light and go, oh, I need to go that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving her too much credit. Regardless, she's back. But on a personal note, my dad, who I talked to about once a week on the phone, who had lived with his wife in Las Vegas, Nevada, he moved there after I was married. Not anymore, but when I was married, my ex and I decided, hey, we need to get out of Tucson. Let's move up to Phoenix. Love to move to San Diego. Thank goodness we didn't, because California, man, love the city, love 60% of the people, but the other 40% are loons and crazy, and just about everybody in your government is crazy. Anyway, sorry to get into politics. So we had moved up to the Phoenix area in about 2002. Yes, after 9/11. Transferred up. I was on the fire department in the Phoenix area, the valley. At that point, my dad, who had married his wife 2 years after my mom died in 2000, said, well, her family's in California. You and your wife are in Phoenix. And your brother and his kids and his wife, are in Las Vegas. So they wanted to move to California, but California is expensive. Hard to retire there. My dad and his wife were retired. Well, I don't know if his wife ever worked. I don't. Does high school count? Anyway, he had retired, made the decision to move to Vegas. I thought that was great. Not too many hours from Phoenix, kind of middle of the road to be visiting her family in California. And there's my brother, his wife, and their 2 kids. Eventually, my brother and his wife moved out. They're in the Washington area, where all super ultra liberals go. Yes, he is. And so is my dad. Was my dad. Oop, let the cat out of the bag. Anyway, so my dad and his wife bought a home there in 2003. I hadn't seen him for many, many years. And yet I had talked to him about once a week. I mean, if I went 2 weeks, that was a pretty big stretch, but I always called him. He was really never somebody to call me, but that's fine. I called him once a week. We chatted, sometimes 10, 15 minutes, other times 45 minutes to an hour. And although my brother doesn't believe it, I would always ask about how his wife's doing, how my nephews are doing. If he talked to my brother, what's going on with the family, things like that. Talking to my dad about his wife's family in California. One of the things that was kind of an unusual note, but kind of neat, was my dad's wife is Jewish, so her family's all Jewish, and her grandson, when I think he turned like 18 several years ago, went and joined the Israel army. Didn't know how to speak Israeli, Is that right? Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, all 10 of you that might watch this. And and went into the Army there. I thought that was pretty cool. But again, talking to my dad, I'd find out what's going on. He had heart issues going on. He had scoliosis with his back going on and refused to wear a neck brace to kind of keep his neck up. So he started doing the old man hunch over and things like that. In the last year to two, I really knew that dementia had set in. He'd repeatedly say things. Of course, if we use that as the only example of dementia, I repeat things all the time. Ask my ex-wife. But that was things uncharacteristic to my dad. In one call, he'd repeat the same story from a week before. I mentioned pets that we had when I was in my teens and mid-teens, late teens, and he's like, I don't remember that pet. So he had dementia going on, which he was in his 80s, understandable. His mom lived to be 92. His dad lived to be 96. So I'm thinking my dad's going to live into his 90s, but apparently not this past Saturday, which would have been a few days ago, but about 10 days ago on that Saturday, apparently he had a bad reaction to some OxyContin that was given to him for a new back injury that he went into the ER for. And in the morning, he was having difficulty breathing, shallow breathing, unconscious. 911, they bring him to the hospital. Saturday, he's doing great. He's watching the baseball game, big baseball fan, talking to people, eating, blah, 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 blah. So 10 days ago or so on Saturday, about midnight, he codes. Well, my dad's a DNR. Unfortunately, even though they've been to this hospital a million times, they had never given that paperwork to the hospital. Something to think about, folks. And they didn't bring it to his wife didn't bring it to the hospital with him. I'm sure she rode in the ambulance, that Saturday morning. But you would think, okay, he's in the hospital now. Really scary stuff, not like just a back injury and other things like we've come here before. Maybe you ought to go home and get his living will with the DNR. Well, they didn't do that, so he codes. They work on him, resuscitate him for 5 minutes, and part of the ACLS protocols are you ventilate somebody, put them on oxygen, and they decided based on how he's doing, a lot of times if somebody comes back and the heart rate comes back and everything's doing good, you could actually excavate them and take the tube out, and they're breathing on their own. They left it in, and then they gave him some Versed to medically sedate him, put him into a medical coma. Well, over my years, I've done CPR on people dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of time. I don't want to say it's over 100, but 40 plus, maybe 100. I don't know. One survived, and it was a guy that went down right in front of me. I was able to do CPR, and the fire station was 2 minutes away, and he survived at the hospital. They did a quadruple bypass. His family all flew in to see him, and a week later he died. Somebody codes that you have to do CPR. It's not good odds. I checked out the American Heart Association's odds on CPR done on patients in the hospital, 20% survivability rate. And I forgot what they say survivability rate is, they're good enough to get kicked out of the hospital and go on their own. Not like my dad where, okay, we brought him back, he's good, and the next day, okay, all right. Anyway, my dad was intubated for a few days. They extubated him. He was on low oxygen, but he trouble with his kidneys, yada, yada, yada. Then on Sunday, my brother, who's been there since Saturday, of course, I'm broke as a joke. I'm in an RV in a forest, camping for free with a cat. But my brother, who's done very well financially, and he deserves it, him and his wife were able to fly down, be with my dad's wife, be in the hospital that same day, and was with him 12 hours a day every day giving me updates, which I really appreciate, because I kind of have, in the last few years, have a not great relationship with my brother. It's all this guy's fault. I hope you like me. I try to love everybody, but I've got a bit of a drinking problem. And by a bit, I mean I'm an alcoholic. And when I do tend to fall off the wagon and have a bunch to drink, I tend to do and say things that are pretty stupid and that I regret. Unfortunately, my brother's never been able to forgive me for some of the things over the last couple of years. Pouring my heart out to you guys here. I hope that this honesty maybe makes you subscribe, makes you want to check back for another video. They're all usually a lot more fun than this, but I'm kind of getting this off my chest because those of you that watch are the people that I'm talking to. So he was updating me, and then I believe it was Sunday where he was like, Dad's labored breathing, it's not looking good, he's having difficulty, and minutes later he's like, he's passed away. Of course, by that time they did have his DNR, not to do any extraordinary life-saving events. So unfortunately my dad passed away. I wanted to immediately go up there, but my brother said it's not necessary. His wife said no, not necessary. My dad's not going to have any formal ceremony. He's going to be cremated. My brother, who is the first trustee in line to my dad's will, is going through the finances, which, not to go into a lot of detail, but there's been a lot of tomfoolery going on before this. For example, I'm in the insurance business, and so as I talked to my dad 8 or so months ago, maybe a year ago, and I talked about his couple of $10,000 Rolexes that he had, not bought by him, but given to him by his wife, probably with my dad's money, but still, gifts to him and pinky rings and jewelry and things like that. He had several tens of thousands of dollars of jewelry, and I was like, Dad, you need to get this special policy to insure it. You need to get appraisals in case they're stolen, they're not properly covered by your homeowner policy, yada, yada, yada. And then today I get told, oh, Dad doesn't have any jewelry. At first it was, all Dad's jewelry is going to his wife. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I don't know what she's going to do with men's watches. I guess sell them and, use that for retirement. And then I get told, no, he doesn't have any jewelry. Well, that's a bold-faced lie. And that's what's sad. So there's a little tomfoolery. I don't want to get into it because the bottom line is my dad passed away. He was a great dad. So many things over the years that he did for me, but just our weekly conversations is what I'm going to miss. But on that note, not to sound cold and callous, but everybody dies. So that's why you've got to live to the fullest now. If you have any friends or family members that you're estranged from, make up with them. Tell them you love them. Tell them you're sorry, even if it was their fault. Do what Jesus said. Love your neighbor. And guess what, people? Everybody's your neighbor. I want you to have a lucky night, a lucky week, and a lucky year. And I will be in touch in a couple of days when we get moved to that west of Flagstaff spot that I've never been in. And hopefully it'll be pretty cool. And I'll definitely do some outside footage there like I haven't really done here. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.